Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics, and this is the Streamlight TLR1 HL weapon light. So for those of you that follow me on Instagram, or I've brought it up in previous videos, in fact this light's made it into a few other videos, handheld weapon light techniques is the one where it probably made its first appearance. I've had this light for some time. I wanted to do a long time review on it. When it comes to weapon mounted lights, my opinion has always been that I'm going to go where the lumens are and I'm going to go where the durability is, but it's got to be both, because there are some lights out there that provide a great amount of light, but their durability or there's some other features that they have that just don't work well. The quality isn't in every category. So when it comes to weapon mounted lights, as far as my opinion is concerned, based on my experience, there's only been pretty much two companies that were consistently producing quality lights. That's Streamlight and Surefire. But I've always been somewhat Surefire centric. Now this video is not a comparison between Streamlight and Surefire products. It is a standalone video to talk about the TLR1 HL and why I think that this is, it's actually a really awesome light, and I'm going to tell you why. First up is the specifications. What is this light, the HL light, going to give you? Well, it's going to give you 800 lumens. Now, lumens is a buzzword, if you will. It's an actual measurement of light produced, but the more important light for me, the more important number for me, and the number that I wish people would focus a little bit more on is candela. How much candela I'm getting. Candela is intensity at a point. This is going to give me 15,000, which gives me a really, really good hot spot, especially for a handgun mounted light. Some handgun lights in the past have been all spill, which is fine for accuracy at certain distances, but it doesn't give me the degree of control I'm going to want from a light, because I want to be able to use the hot spot if necessary to remove a bad guy's visual horizon, and I can't do that if the light is all throw. Well, I can't do that at increasing distances. Now granted, what distances am I going to run into with a handgun light? I don't know. I don't want to presuppose based on some idea. Now, most likely to least likely, I'm probably going to be closer than I am further away, but I still want the ability to reach out there. My handgun envelope needs to be addressed by the light that I'm going to use. Handgun envelope being how far or what distance am I reliably accurate at under whatever conditions I may find myself in. The HL is going to give me that. It's going to give me the distance that I want. It's going to give me the ability to PID my threats at increasing distances, especially with inside my handgun envelope. And that's something that's incredibly important when it comes to any light whatsoever. Is the light can be there, but is it going to provide me the amount of data I'm going to need to identify potential threats and to clear whatever structure or environment that you happen to be in? For my evaluation process, I just carried the light. I used it to teach with. I used it in my own personal practice. I incorporated it into my just general handgun shooting regimen. I've had it for probably at this point a little over a month and a half. I actually picked up two of them just in case one of them happened to die during the evaluation process, which actually didn't happen, which is great because this one's still in pristine condition for now. My initial impressions with the light were, hey, it's really bright, and that's great. And then I got into the evaluation and using it through different environments, and I found that not only is it really bright, but again, like I've already mentioned, the hotspot is excellent. And what's more important to me is I'm getting enough of my lumen, my energy, my actual light output out there to be able to push through photonic barriers, which means I'm in a dark environment and there's a light environment between me and what I want to project the light into. The light is powerful enough to push through that, because when light interacts with light, weird things can happen. If you don't have a high quality reflector, you don't have a high quality output, or the light just isn't built with this type of environment in mind, you can lose a lot of your light. Light can act as a wall for light, and it's very confusing to get into those things, and that's why I'm glad that they put a lot of effort into the designing of this light and other high quality lights that come from Streamlight, that no matter what light environment I'm in, or no matter what dark environment I'm in, or whatever mesopic kind of in between, twilight-ish, if you will, environment that I'm in, the light is going to give me the ability to get data, and that's its primary purpose. It's great to use a light for control if you have to, but in order to get control, you first have to identify that you need to control someone, which means you need data, and that's where the light's output, both its hotspot and its cornea, come into play. As far as controls go, it's the traditional rocker switch. Up is momentary, down is constant. Now, depending on what technique you subscribe to, that may or may not work for you. I wish there was ability, and this is kind of a negative, to switch that for left versus right-handed shooters or for whatever technique you happen to use. I'm a constant on shooter. If you remember from the, and if you want to go back and check it out, the video I did on handgun weapon mounted light use. I go constant on unless there's a reason not to. So if I'm actively shooting, the light's on so I can use my traditional grip. It costs me nothing in the amount of time, especially with the Streamlight switch, to immediately turn the light off with just a movement of my finger. And that's something that's very advantageous to me over lights or switches that are offered by other weapon-mounted lights. This is almost built for that. I don't know if they designed it like that on purpose. I doubt they did, because as a left-handed shooter, it's going to be easy for me than it would be for a right-handed shooter to use constant on technique. But the fact that it exists makes me really, really happy. So I'm a little bit biased in that standpoint, because the rocker switch definitely for constant on type shooting works really well for me as a primarily left-handed handgun shooter. That being said, as a right-handed shooter, it's not that big of a deal. It's an up versus down, down versus up, depending on what technique you want to use. It also comes with strobe. Not a fan of strobe, so I programmed that out of there. Even though I don't think they advertise it as 10 tap. The Streamlight's really big on the 10 tap. You tap it 10 times and you can change the programming, go through your different modes depending on how many modes are offered by the light. I 10 tapped strobe out of this light, so no matter how many times I turn it on now, I don't have to worry about strobe turning on. What about durability? And I kind of already talked about this a little bit, but now let's get right into the durability of the thing. How durable is a light going to be? Now, as far as rounds fired, I have about 2,000 rounds on this light. That's not a lot in the grand scheme of things. Will recoil alone kill a light? Yes, it will. Eventually it will. It's just a matter of how many rounds are going to have to be fired in order for the recoil itself to actually cause either a battery connection issue on the inside or somehow damage the electronics. Now, because it's a handgun purpose-built light, they definitely factor that into the manufacture of the light. I have an older Streamlight. It's probably about 7 years old. One of the original evolutions of it. It's probably got 10 to 15,000 rounds on it because I didn't use it a whole lot. And it's still going strong. How long is this light gonna last strictly based on recoil? I don't know, but what I can say is over 2,000 rounds, I never really encountered an issue with it. I didn't have a battery connectivity issue, I didn't have any lighting issues, I didn't have any fading or dimming, parasitic battery drain, none of those things happened. So as far as that's concerned, it's very good. Now, as the body is made out of aluminum, and of course, you've got your bezel material and things like that, which can be susceptible to damage. So the glass is recessed, so obviously that's going to be a huge high point when it comes to protecting the light from incidental contact with other objects or being dropped or anything like that. But is it going to be durable long term? Well, since it's mounted on a handgun, now granted, if you were to run this on a rifle, you'd have different concerns than you would on a handgun. Handguns are not necessarily going to encounter the same degree of constant exposure to the risk of damage such as a rifle will. Because if I've got a rifle slung and it's banging around, it can knock into anything and damage my equipment. This is going to be holstered unless it's in my hand, so that degree of protection definitely factors into your long-term durability. But that's not really enough for me. I want to know that the light's going to be durable if it encounters any significant problems. Now, I want to keep it realistic, but I have to be able to accelerate potential damage for the purposes of a review. So I'm going to go ahead and beat this one right here. I'm going to beat it up right now, and we'll see how it goes. So please excuse the ridiculous nature of dropping lights off of balconies. Now, again, the light would have been attached to probably a handgun. So the handgun would have went with it, which adds more weight, more terminal velocity, more impact, which is why I dropped it twice. Second time I dropped it, the battery compartment came open, batteries came out, put the batteries right back in as you saw, and the light still works. This is my test light you're looking right now. It did suffer some cosmetic damage and there is a bend in the bezel, but the glass is still intact, the body's still intact, the light still functions as designed. Can you break this? Absolutely. I could probably go get a hammer and break this thing on purpose. It'd be super easy. This isn't a torture test in unrealistic conditions to failure. I just wanted to demonstrate for the sake of the video that it does have on par durability with its main competitor, which is Surefire. Of course, brand loyalty is huge. I had a bit of a cognitive bias when it came to handgun weapon lights. I recognized that Streamlight made a quality light, but I was very Surefire centric. That's ended. Reason being, like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm going to go where the quality and the lumens are. I want as much light as possible. There's no such thing, until we get to the level of the sun, as too bright of a light. There's only such thing as too bright of a light used incorrectly. So for your firearms, you're going to want the most light possible. Streamlight's newest generation of lights give me that. So as far as the handgun is concerned, I'm definitely switching over to the HL model. My Surefires will, still be in rotation, but my day-to-day carry and my duty carry are going to be the TLR1 HL. So is the TLR1 HL for you? That's kind of a personal decision. I hope this video definitely sheds some lights on the versatility of the light, functionality of the light, and the durability of the light, so you can make that decision yourself. However, if you're looking for a weapon-mounted light, you can't really do any better than this if you like Streamlight's controls. Controls are going to be a very big deciding factor. Or if your mission requires you to have a dual output light. If you need white light and infrared, Streamlight's still pretty much, or I should say Surefire is still pretty much biggest game in town when it comes to that. But for just standard home defense gun, everyday carry gun, duty gun, white light necessary, this is going to give you the most lumens that you're going to get out of a production handgun light. Not only are the lumens good, but the candela is amazing, the hotspot is amazing, the cornea is amazing. It's going to give you all the light you're going to need for your handgun. So as far as I'm concerned, this is the light to go to when it comes to weapon-mounted lights for pistols. I'm Aaron Count with Sage Dynamics. Illuminate accordingly.